From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. On the top story, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday named Senator Juan Edgardo Sani Angara as the next Secretary of the Department of Education, or DepEd. The Presidential Communications Office, or PCO, made the announcement in a social media post on Tuesday. Angara will replace Vice President Sara Duterte, who resigned as DepEd Chief on June 19th. The PCO noted Angara's extensive legislative history and his role in significant educational reforms. Angara's notable legislative achievements include the Universal Access to Tertiary Education Act and the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, or K-12. In a separate news release, the PCO said the President announced Angara's appointment during the 17th Cabinet meeting in Malacañang. Angara holds a Master of Laws from Harvard University, a Bachelor of Laws from the University of the Philippines, and a Bachelor of Science in Economics from the London School of Economics. He also garnered support from key educational organizations with the Coordinating Council of Private Educational Associations, or COCOPEA, and the Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities, or PACU, endorsing to the Chief Executive his appointment as new DepEd Chief.
Dateline Malacañang.
In related news, Senator Juan Edgardo Sani Angara on Tuesday said he is deeply honored and grateful to gain Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s trust by appointing him as new Secretary of the Department of Education, or DepEd. Angara promised to work with all sectors in the society, including his predecessor, Vice President Sara Duterte, to ensure that Filipino students will have access to quality education. Angara is serving his third term as senator that started in 2013 when he was elected during the midterm elections after serving as congressman of Aurora Province from 2004 to 2013. He is a graduate of Xavier School, the London School of Economics, the University of the Philippines College of Law, and Harvard Law School. He has been a regular newspaper columnist and a professor of law. In his 18 years as legislator, Angara has sponsored or authored more than 330 laws. Angara was principal author of the Digital Workforce Competitiveness Act, and in the 19th Congress, he filed the National Digital Transformation Act, the Local ICT Officers Act, and the Science and Technology Parks Incentives Act, among many other measures. Senate President Francis Escudero said he fully supports Angara's appointment 2 weeks after Vice President Sara Duterte resigned. He said the significant role reflects Angara's extensive experience and unwavering commitment to improving the nation's educational system. Escudero admitted that leading the DepEd is a difficult task, but nevertheless, he trusted and have a full confidence in Angara's ability to lead the DepEd with excellence and integrity. Senator Loren Legarda also commended Angara, whom she described his dedication and efficiency, emphasizing his commitment to addressing the needs and welfare of the Filipino youth. Legarda said her fellow lawmaker had significantly improved the state of education in the country with laws such as the Ladderized Education Act, the Open Learning and Distance Education Act, the Youth Entrepreneurship Act, among others. Former Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri said Angara is the right man for the job. Senator Nancy Binay described Angara's appointment as excellent. Senator Ramon Revilla Jr. said Angara is the best person for the position. Senator Lito Lapid said he fully supports the appointment of Angara, saying this will be a huge challenge to his capability. Senator Risa Hontiveros said Angara is one of the most qualified and acceptable DepEd secretaries among education reform advocates.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday approved the 6.352 trillion pesos 2025 National Expenditure Program or NEP as presented by Philippine Department of Budget and Management or DBM Secretary Amena Pangandaman. This will serve as Congress's basis for the General Appropriations Bill or GAB. Presiding over the 17th Cabinet meeting in Malacañang, the President said the 2025 NEP or NEP reflects the administration's priorities, such as food security, social protection, healthcare, housing, disaster resilience, infrastructure, digital connectivity, and energization. The NEP or NEP is the national government spending plan for the next fiscal year. Once approved by Congress, it will be known as the GAB or GAB and will become the General Appropriations Act or GAA upon signing into law. The sectors getting a big chunk of the proposed budget include education, public works, health, interior and local government, and defense. Other government top priorities are social welfare, agriculture, transportation, the judiciary, and justice sectors. In terms of expense class, getting the largest chunk are maintenance and other operating expenses, followed by personal services, capital outlays, and financial expenses. Among the factors considered by the government in evaluating the fiscal year 2025 budget proposals were the availability of fiscal space, the implementation and readiness of program or activity or projects, the agency's absorptive capacity, and the alignment with budget priorities framework, and Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028.
Dateline Malacañang.
Low-cost airline Cebu Pacific or CEB, CEB, has just made the largest aircraft order in Philippine aviation history, purchasing 152 aircraft from Airbus. In a disclosure, the airline said it signed a memorandum of understanding with Airbus for the aircraft order worth 1.4 trillion Philippine peso or 24 billion US dollars. SEB Chief Executive Officer Michael Zux, in a statement, said the order is designed to provide SEB with maximum flexibility to adapt fleet growth to market conditions, with the ability to switch between the A321neo and A320neo. The Gokongwei-led airlines order is for up to 102 A321neo and 50 A320neo. SEB has also selected Pratt & Whitney GTF engines to power the future aircraft. Meanwhile, the purchase agreement is expected to be completed in the third quarter this year. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. welcomes SEB's multi-billion-dollar plan to acquire new aircraft from Airbus. The president told SEB officials during their courtesy call in Malacañang Tuesday that their plan is a very good sign for the Philippine economy. Zuk said the order is an indication of the company's confidence in the Philippine economy. The SEB officials, led by Lance Gokongwei, President and Chief Executive Officer of JG Summit Holdings Incorporated, which owns Cebu Pacific, informed President Marcos of its investment plans and government support to keep the Philippine aviation industry competitive. Zuk said the company led the domestic airline market with 54% market share, followed by the Philippine Airlines, 29%, and AirAsia 17%. Its first quarter 2024 revenue reached 25.3 billion Philippine peso, with total assets at about 200 billion Philippine peso. Sab was awarded Best Airline at the Routes Asia 2024 Awards in February 2024 in recognition of its contributions to airport and destination marketing in the Asia-Pacific region, specifically the resumption of its Clark Hub operations and launching of 15 domestic and international destinations in April last year. Currently, Sab flies to 35 domestic and 25 international destinations.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Holy See is urging all parties in the South China Sea to abide by international law and pursue dialogue as a solution to disputes. Secretary for Relations with States of the Holy See, His Excellency Archbishop Paul Gallagher, on Tuesday said the position of the Holy See is that every effort must be made and that any differences or conflicts are resolved peacefully. The Archbishop encouraged parties in conflict to abide by international law and to pursue that as a way of resolving difficulties and problems to the best interest of all involved. The issue of the West Philippine Sea and the Taiwan Strait were among the subjects discussed by Gallagher and Department of Foreign Affairs DFA Secretary Enrique Manalo during a bilateral meeting at the Manila Diamond Hotel. Concerned by the far too many conflicts in the world, Gallagher said the Holy See is focused on promoting peace through dialogue and negotiation. During the meeting, Manalo said they noted their shared perspective that amidst the various international challenges and conflicts, the international community must be united in preserving a world where differences are resolved peacefully and on the basis of international law. Gallagher and Manalo first exchanged views on the West Philippine Sea during a meeting on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference in February 2023. On top of security issues, the two top diplomats also discussed ways to strengthen the Philippines and the Vatican's relations, specifically on migrant rights promotion, culture and education, climate resilience, and interfaith dialogue, among others. Manalo said, the two states are now working on an agreement on education that would allow for mutual recognition of university degrees. This proposed memorandum of understanding is expected to benefit Filipino priests and nuns pursuing further studies in various ecclesiastical and Catholic educational institutions of the Holy See. Meanwhile, Manalo reaffirmed Manila's long-standing commitment to promoting interfaith and intercultural dialogue as a means of fostering peace, understanding, and cooperation among different cultures and religions.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. conveyed his good wishes to Pope Francis as he welcomed Vatican Archbishop Paul Gallagher in Malacañang Palace. During their meeting, the president conveyed his good wishes to Pope Francis and highlighted the vibrant diplomatic ties between the Philippines and the Holy See. The diplomatic relations between the Philippines and the Vatican span 73 years since it was established on April 8, 1951. Gallagher, Vatican Secretary for Relations with States and International Organizations, was accompanied by Archbishop Charles Brown, Apostolic Nuncio to the Philippines, Monsignor Josep Trentadue, Counselor of the Apostolic Nunciature in Manila, and Monsignor Josep Siviero, Secretariat of the State of the Holy See. Gallagher also met with Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo before he paid a courtesy call on the chief executive. Gallagher is set to visit Malaybalay, Bukidnon to participate in the plenary session of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, or CBCP, on July 3rd. The Archbishop will also celebrate Mass with the bishops in the Abbey of the Transfiguration in Malaybalay on July 4th. He will then deliver an address at the Foreign Service Institute, or FSI, of the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, on July 5th. Filipinos in the Vatican are composed of clergies, religious workers, lay professionals and domestic workers. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle is one of the Filipinos working in the Vatican. He was appointed as the prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of the Peoples on June 5th, 2022.
Dateline Malacañang.
Relatives of two Filipino crew members of bulk carrier MV True Confidence who died from the missile strike in the Gulf of Aden mourn as they receive the remains of their loved ones at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA cargo area in Pasay City Tuesday morning. The two seafarers were among the 15 Filipino crew members aboard the MV True Confidence, which was attacked by Houthi rebels on March 6 while traversing the Gulf of Aden. The remaining 13 crew members have already returned to the country and have been provided with necessary assistance by the government. The remains of the two seafarers were escorted back home by Dubai Labor Attaché John Rio Bautista, while officials from the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW and Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA condoled with the families and assured them of necessary assistance. The Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA, DMW and OWA, in coordination with the ship owners and local manning agencies, work for the retrieval and repatriation of the remains of the seafarers. As directed by Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., the DMW and OWA will continue to assist the families of the seafarers and handhold them as they go through this difficult ordeal.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Migrant Workers or DMW welcomed back 22 more crew members of the MV Transworld Navigator who arrived in two batches at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport late Tuesday. All 27 Filipino seafarers of the Liberian-flagged and Greek-owned and operated cargo carrier that was attacked by Yemen's Houthi rebels last week are now back and safe. 5 seafarers arrived in the country on Sunday. DMW Assistant Secretary Jerome Pampolina said the repatriated seafarers received immediate assistance from the government. Stephanie Taway, wife of one of the repatriated seafarers, was emotional as she waited for her husband. She recounted that her husband left again for abroad in May after his vacation in the Philippines. Taway said she was speechless when she heard the news that the vessel boarded by her husband was attacked by Houthi rebels. She thanked the DMW, OWA, and other government agencies for rescuing her husband and the rest of the crew of Transworld Navigator and sending them home. Earlier, DMW Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak said it was the 4th shipping vessel manned by Filipino crew members to be attacked by Houthi rebels at the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. The others were MV Galaxy Leader, MV True Confidence, and MV Tutor. The DMW announced in late June that the government will no longer allow Filipino seafarers to board vessels passing through the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. The DMW also required manning agencies to submit a detailed itinerary of their vessels during the processing of crew employment contracts or before the deployment.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Migrant Workers or DMW assured that the implementation of its Action Fund to assist overseas Filipino workers or OFWs is in full swing under the administration of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. During the pre-SONA or pre-State of the Nation Address Special Resibo ng Serbisyo ng Pangulo aired over state-run PTV on Monday, Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak said the DMW has disbursed nearly 1 billion Philippine peso from the Action or the Action Fund. The Action, Agarang Kalinga at Saklolo para sa mga OFW na nangangailangan fund is used for legal, medical, financial, and other forms of assistance to OFWs, including repatriation, shipment of remains, evacuation, rescue, and any other analogous help or intervention to protect the rights of Filipino nationals. In his second SONA last year, President Marcos said the government is engaging with partners in the international community to ensure a safe working environment for OFWs. During the Labor Day commemoration on May 1, President Marcos reiterated his order to the DMW to strengthen protection for OFWs and ensure government help during their times of need. Kakdak said the DMW and its attached agency, Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA, have been responding to distress calls of OFWs, especially during the two major international conflicts, the Sudan humanitarian crisis that erupted in April 2023 and a conflict between Israel and militant group Hamas that started on October 7, 2023. The whole of government aid, as ordered by the President, includes the Department of Foreign Affairs, Department of Health, Department of Social Welfare and Development, and the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. The DMW's Action Fund has a 2.8 billion Philippine peso budget allocation for 2024. Kakdak said also taken from the Action Fund are the legal expenses. He said the DMW has taken up about 54,000 cases, including claims and legal battles, aside from 9,400 cases being handled by international posts. Kakdak said cases include complaints against employers, interrupted employment, improper salary, abuse at work, countering cases filed by employers like theft and immigration-related cases. The DMW also spends for criminal cases for OFWs who are victims of rape and physical injuries. Kakdak assured that the fund system is continually being improved to make more accessible and the distribution more efficient.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD, in compliance with the directive of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., has distributed over 1.37 billion Philippine peso in cash assistance to farmers, fisherfolk, and their families affected by the El Niño phenomenon. DSWD spokesperson Irene Dumlao said the entire amount of the cash aid was handed over to some 137,333 beneficiaries from the select sectors in 17 towns in Cagayan Valley and some regions in the Visayas and Mindanao, each receiving 10,000 pesos under the agency's Ayuda sa Kapos Ang Kita program or AKAP. The AKAP is a recently launched program of the DSWD that provides social aid to individuals who may not have access to regular forms of assistance because they do not belong to the poorest population. Of the total amount of assistance, Cagayan de Oro in northern Mindanao received the biggest chunk with 113.8 million Philippine peso for 11,385 recipients. During the PAF distribution on June 28 in Bohol, where the President was joined by DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian, the Chief Executive said in his speech that he has expanded the duties of the DSWD not just to provide assistance during typhoons and other calamities. Apart from cash assistance, the DSWD is also providing family food packs to El Niño hit families and individuals nationwide.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Agriculture or DA on Tuesday said the operation of the first cold examination facility for agriculture or CEFA in Bulacan Province will start by the start of 2025 as part of intensified measures for the country's first border control. A CEFA is a sanitary phytosanitary inspection facility for imported animals, fish, plants, and other agricultural agricultural products to ensure food safety and prevent the entry of plants, pests, and animal diseases like Q fever, which was first detected in imported goats from the United States in June. In a news release, Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. said private contractors are currently constructing a CEFA in Angat with equipment procurement underway to meet the operational timeline. Laurel said plans are also underway to open 4 additional CEFAs by September 2025 in Manila, Subic in Zambales, Davao Region, and General Santos City. The DA said comprehensive facilities are also planned for major ports and fish ports, including the Manila International Container Terminal, Subic Bay International Corporation, Davao International Container Terminal, Manila South Harbor, New Cebu International Container Port, Batangas International Port, Navotas Fish Port, Iloilo International Container Port, and Misamis Oriental. Funding for the CEFA project was originally pegged at 2.3 billion Philippine peso in 2023 but was reduced to 1.2 billion Philippine peso for the current year due to the offer of International Container Terminal Services Incorporated or ICTSI to host most of the facilities in local ports which the listed company operates. Meanwhile, Laurel said the DA will implement pre-shipment inspections in ports of origin while waiting for the CEFAs to commence operations.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE said the looming 35 pesos increase in the daily minimum wage for private sector workers in Metro Manila can still be appealed. In an interview, Philippine Labor Secretary Bienvenido Laguesma said those who would like to appeal the decision of the Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Board or RTWPB National Capital Region or NCR may file an appeal before the National Wages and Productivity Commission or NWPC. He said even the employer sector may also file an appeal against Wage Order Number NCR 25. The order sets the new minimum wage rate from 610 to 645 for the non-agriculture sector, and from 573 to 608 for the agriculture sector, service and retail establishments employing 15 or fewer workers, and manufacturing establishments regularly employing less than 10 workers. The new wage rates will take effect on July 17 or 15 days after its publication on July 1.
Dateline Malacañang.
Government agencies and offices are encouraged to participate in the Development Academy of the Philippines or DAP Challenge to raise their productivity performance. This year's Productivity Challenge Program or PCP theme 2024 Fast Break 100K transaction hours reduced encourages government agencies and offices to reassess, reinvent, and tailor service delivery time. The initiative must showcase a substantial reduction in transaction time either of a core or support service. The challenge is open to national government agencies and their attached and regional offices, government-owned and controlled corporations, state universities and colleges, and local government units. These agencies may participate if they have initiated or are planning organizational process improvements between January 2023 and October 2024, according to the DAP. Individuals working in public or private sectors and students who have innovative ideas on improving service delivery may also join. Recognition will be given to the winning entries. Public sector organizations qualify for the following awards: Most Transaction Hours Saved, Highest Transaction Hours Reduced, and Fast Breaker of the Year. The individual category qualifies for Outstanding Idea for Improved Service Delivery Award. The PCP, a multi-year project by the DAP Center of Excellence on Public Sector Productivity, intends to boost the productivity and innovativeness of the country's public sector organizations.
Dateline Malacañang.
Finally, for Dateline Malacañang, the Philippines and China have reaffirmed their commitment to de-escalating tensions in the South China Sea during their first formal dialogue since the violent skirmish between the Chinese Coast Guard and the Armed Forces of the Philippines near Ayungin Shoal on June 17. The two states convened the 9th meeting of their bilateral consultation mechanism on the South China Sea, or BCM, in Manila on July 2nd. Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, Undersecretary Maria Teresa Lazaro and Vice Foreign Minister Chen Xiaodong led the Philippine and Chinese delegations respectively and had a frank and constructive discussions on the situation. In her comments, Lazaro told her counterpart that the Philippines would be relentless in protecting its interests and upholding its sovereignty, sovereign rights, and jurisdiction in the West Philippine Sea. The DFA said there was a substantial progress on developing measures to manage the situation at sea, but said significant differences remain. The DFA has yet to provide details when asked what kind of measures the Philippines is pushing and what progress has been reached. Meanwhile, both sides agreed to continue discussions to find a mutually acceptable resolution to the issue. According to the DFA, the two sides signed the arrangement on improving Philippines-China maritime communication mechanisms and agreed to discuss further how to operationalize this mechanism. They also agreed to continue discussions on maritime cooperation between their Coast Guard authorities, including the possible resumption of the Joint Coast Guard Committee. The two sides likewise talked about the possibility of convening an academic forum among scientists and academics on marine scientific and technological cooperation.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.